Hi Gemini, welcome to your love reading for March 2017. We are working with two decks again, so let's go ahead and begin. This is going to be for confirmation, so we will get to that in a minute, but first let's get 9 cards for you from this deck. And this is the love reading for the sign of Gemini for March 2017. The first card that you have, Gemini, is the Five of Wands. Gemini, March 2017. Three of Pentacles. Ten of Swords. Love reading for the sign of Gemini, March 2017. Queen of Swords. Love reading for the sign of Gemini, March 2017. King of Wands. Love reading for the sign of Gemini, March 2017. Strength. Knight of Pentacles. Five of Cups. And the final card is the Ace of Swords. So the card at the bottom of the deck is going to represent the main energy around your love life for the month of March. And you have the Four of Pentacles. So sometimes this can be that there's a lot of material things kind of happening in the home, but this card does represent holding on to material things, and in a love reading this can be a relationship. We'll see how this ties in with the rest of the reading. Let me just adjust the cards and then we'll get right into it. Okay, so let's start with the first card. You have the Five of Wands. So this card can represent, that there's a lot of fiery energy in your love life, especially for those who are already coupled. This can represent arguments. This is just, a card of pettiness. This is not a very negative card, but it can mean, that you're competing with your partner in some way. There's a lot of, little arguments, conflicts. Like I said, this is a very kind of petty energy where you don't really understand each other. This is a card of, people have different goals. So it can mean that in the month of March, you may feel like you're not really seeing eye to eye with your partner. You may feel like you want different things and you don't really understand each other. Now, I see here that, with that energy there, as far as like conflicts and not really understanding where your partner is coming from, I see you doing everything that you can to keep your relationship together. You have the Three of Pentacles. This is a card of effort. And this means that you're working very hard, if not overtime, to make your relationship work, or to keep a relationship, or to heal a relationship. For some of you, you have the Ten of Swords here. This is, a card of an ending. This is a card of moving on. And it usually comes up when, it's a cycle in your life. A relationship has just kind of like completed a cycle, and it's time to move on, either to the next person or to move on to the next phase in your relationship. And I don't feel like for everyone that it means that it's time for you to move away from your relationship, but I get the feeling that something's going on with the sign of Gemini where there's a lot of misunderstandings with your partner. Like I said, this is not a very negative card, but it does mean that you take shots at each other, that you compete, that there's, little petty arguments. But I feel like for some of you, there could be so many of them, or they could be taking their toll on someone, either you or your partner, where that has to come to an end. I feel like this is what that represents for couples. The arguments have to come to an end. And even like the silly faces here. So I feel like there could be a lot of like, weird little petty little things going on in your relationship where they're telling you here, I almost feel like this is kind of like a word of caution, like this has to come to an end. I feel like one person is really kind of trying to stop this. I feel like it's just time to move on from the little stuff, the little petty arguments. Now, for some of you, I mean, the Five of Wands can also represent, for those who are single, the Five of Wands could represent competition. So it could be someone that you're dating or someone that you're interested in, where you find out that there's someone else that's also interested in that person. So I see you, for those who are single, really doing everything that you can to make sure that you end up with that person. And you do have, I see you here, you're an air sign, and I see a fire sign here. And this is lined up with, you know, with the Three of Pentacles, also the Five of Cups. So I feel that for those who are single, that you're doing everything that you can. I feel like either there's competition, someone else is interested in the person that you want, or you're just really kind of fired up and you may be pursuing someone. I kind of feel, because it's the Five of Wands, someone who's very different than you. It could be someone that you have nothing in common with, but you feel drawn to them. I just feel like it's someone where they're just like not your type. And it could be that, you know, you're moving on from a past relationship, that you finally kind of like let somebody go, for those who are single. Okay, so down here you have the Queen of Swords. I feel like this is definitely you, male or female. This is an air sign. Gemini is an air sign. And there is someone right next to you, a fire sign. So again, this can be, for those who are already coupled, this can be your romantic partner, male or female. This is a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising. There's a message here where they're asking you to be brave. You have strength. This is a major arcana, so this is a very significant energy. So I feel like this fire sign, I mean, especially with a message like the Five of Wands up here, I feel like if any sign is going to be, or any element, sorry, it's going to be like very competitive, it's going to be a fire sign. Because fire signs are very kind of assertive and even sometimes aggressive, not in a negative way, but they like to win. They like to be number one. They like to they want to have the last word and have the last laugh. So I kind of feel like your partner, someone who, your partner may not even be a fire sign, but they may be in this energy where it's just very stubborn. You're going to have to be really brave during this month. And this means that you don't allow yourself to lash out at this person or be angry. The Strength card is all about taming your own inner beast and learning to be really patient and compassionate. So I feel like this person could be pushing your buttons. Your romantic partner could be pushing your buttons this month. There could be misunderstandings with the Five of Wands here. But they're asking you to just really kind of like watch yourself, watch what you say. Especially with the Ten of Swords here, where it's telling you something has to end. And I feel like for the majority of you, it's like, you know, the arguments and the pettiness and the silliness. But it can mean for some of you where you're just completely fed up and you feel like you're not really in a healthy relationship, especially with the main energy over here being the Four of Pentacles, which is holding on to something out of fear. Some of you may feel like you've already dealt with enough and you've done enough with the Three of Pentacles. You've given everything, you've tried everything to stop the arguments and the conflicts. And for some of you, you may be choosing to move on as far as leaving a relationship, but that won't apply to everyone. So for those who are single, again, you know, fire sign in some way is important. I still feel like the fire sign, even for those who are single, it's someone that's very different than you. Where it could be, you know, it could take, you know, guts for you to have this person in your life. Maybe because they're very different. It could be that they're a lot older or a lot younger, of different race. I feel like in some way, like you have to be brave when dating this person or introducing this person into your family. They could have a very different temperament than you. The Strength card is all about your ego, not allowing your ego to get the best of you. But this person is, you know, very much close to you in the month of March. Now down here you have the Knight of Pentacles. This is telling you that you are making progress when it comes to your love life. You're moving towards your ideal destination, whatever that may be. If you're single, your destination is probably marriage, finding your life partner. If you're already in a relationship, your destination is probably being in a really stable place in your relationship. This is telling you that you're making progress. I do see that there's some unhappiness here. You have the Five of Cups. And this could be that some of you, you're dwelling on the little things that are bringing you down. And I say little things because of the Five of Wands. So you have the Five of Wands and the Five of Cups in this reading. The fives all represent challenges, especially like the Five of Swords, even the Five of Pentacles. So I feel that even though this card is challenging, and it does represent sadness and tears, and really kind of focusing on a loss and not being able to shake it off, a lot like this card. And for some of you, that you could be dealing with a relationship where you have not been able to let go, someone that left your life. I mean, this is a completely different message, but these cards are very similar. You cannot move on, you cannot let go, and you cannot forget. But I feel like for some of you, because this card is surrounded by positive energy, where yes, there's sadness, there's tears, and disappointment, you're moving away from this with the Knight of Pentacles. The Knights all represent change and movement, but this is kind of, slow progress. You'll get there eventually. You also have the Ace of Swords. So the Ace of Swords, this is requiring a new way of thinking. And all the aces are new beginnings, and the swords represents your thoughts. So I feel like when it comes to your relationship, I feel like something has to change as far as how you're thinking. For those who are single, it could be that you have to take a chance on someone who's not your type, or someone that you said you'd never date. You have to adjust the way that you're thinking. You may even have some type of, insight as far as like what you should really be looking for in a partner. I just keep getting like different. It's not who you think, and maybe you have to look for a completely different type of person. But for those who are already coupled, this, represents changing the way that you're thinking about your partner or your marriage or your love life. So like I said, even though there's a challenging card here with the Five of Cups, sadness and tears, it's surrounded by encouraging messages that you will get past this with the Knight of Pentacles, but it does require you to change the way that you're thinking in some way. This could also represent the truth, seeing the truth of what's going on in your relationship. Okay, so let's get some more messages from this deck. What additional messages are there for the sign of Gemini for March 2017? You have the Six of Swords. Other messages for the sign of Gemini, March 2017. The Four of Cups. And the Four of Wands. So I feel like all the readings this month are like very similar. I'm doing them in order, and I keep seeing the same cards, even though I shuffled really well. I just feel like it's a universal energy where things are kind of coming to the surface as far as couples, things that you didn't want to see, but now you have to deal with them. So you have the Six of Swords. This is a very promising card, telling you that if you have been in a really difficult place in a relationship, you're moving away from that. Like I said, you have the Knight of Pentacles here telling you that you're making progress. You're moving towards your goal, your ideal destination. But you're moving, at a slow pace. You will get there eventually. This is a card of moving on from challenges. Moving away from challenges to something much healthier. So, ironically, it's here next to the Ten of Swords, which is saying, let something end. And for everyone, I'm just going to leave it at that because it's different for everyone. Whatever it is that is kind of doing this to you, leave it in the past. It's time for you to move on to something much better. Don't stay down here. It's time for you to let the silliness, let it go. Let it come to an end. There's been way too much of a struggle here. This is just kind of zapping up your energy. Whatever this represents for you, you will move on to something much healthier and much better for you. Now, I feel like there's a choice, and I say that because, again, something much healthier, you're moving on. Let me just kind of skip over here. This is marriage. This represents a marriage, a home, a firm foundation. This is a solid relationship. This is someone that you can count on. This is not someone who's going to commit to you and then bail the next week. This could be, your life partner. This is a happy home. But there's a sense of unhappiness right in the middle. So I feel like there's a need to do something about this. The Four of Cups represents, sometimes loneliness, being unhappy, disappointed, and just kind of feeling blah when it comes to your love life. Feeling like there's something missing. And I feel like this is something that you have to look at. And it is right next to the Strength card, which means it takes guts to face whatever it is making you unhappy. Whatever is making you feel incomplete or like something's missing, you're going to have to be brave and tackle this. And for some of you, this could be that you're tackling your own ego, where you're like, no, I don't want to talk about that. I don't even want to think about that. Well, it's time. Because I feel like there's an opportunity here for you to finally be happy. Have a committed relationship, that marriage, your life partner. The energy is there for you to finally move on to something much healthier. But first you have to let something go, whatever that represents to you. Okay, let's see what other messages come up from this deck. What other messages are there for the sign of Gemini for March 2017? I feel like I should go with this one. Wow, the Three of Pentacles. So you already have this card. Remember that it is right here. What other messages are there for the sign of Gemini for March 2017? Nine of Cups. This one's kind of sticking out here. Two of Wands. At the bottom of this deck, you have the Hermit. So the Hermit represents time on your own, the need for solitude, and the need to really kind of figure things out on a soul level. Really kind of see what is the truth. Remember, you do have the Ace of Swords here, which also represents the truth. Okay, so you have the Three of Pentacles again. So this happened also for, I think it was Taurus. They had two cards that repeated themselves. When these cards come up from two completely different decks, this is an important message for you. So this represents effort. Effort. So for those who are single, if you're really kind of finally ready to meet your life partner, here they are. This represents that you have to kind of do something as far as putting yourself out there. For those who are single, make sure that you're putting in the effort to find that person. For those who are already coupled, it just means that there has to be work involved as far as like healing a relationship. And you wouldn't be watching this reading unless there was some type of challenge, to your relationship or your marriage. This means that, you have to work together. And both people have to kind of communicate. Notice how that in this card, the woman is kind of not facing the man. I kind of feel like somebody cannot be doing all the work for those who are already coupled. You also have a really kind of positive message here from the Nine of Cups. This represents your wishes being granted. This is the wish card. So whatever it is you've been wishing for those who are single, and you've been wishing, hoping for that life partner to finally come in, the energy is there. Remember that you have to put in the effort, because that message was there for you 2 times from 2 different decks. This is your wishes being granted. This is also just a lot of happiness headed your way. For those who are already coupled and your wish, is for you to work out your differences, and I do see some differences here with the Five of Wands, and the Ten of Swords, and the Four of Cups, and the Five of Cups. They're telling you that you can have, your dream relationship. I feel like that is the meaning for those who are already coupled. But again, you have to work together. Like, it can't be just one person, you doing all the work, and your partner not doing anything to make you feel loved or make you feel appreciated. I feel like those who are already coupled, you're very close. Notice how the king, you are here, the Queen of Swords, and the King, you're right next to each other. And the card right next to you is the Nine of Cups. This is you having, your dream relationship, your dream marriage. Strength is also in this row, which means that, there's work to do and you have to be brave. You may have to face some things you don't want to face, talk about some things you don't want to talk about. There is some unhappiness here, but this also is energy of your wish coming true. Now you end with the Two of Wands. This means that, there's waiting involved. There's waiting as far as things falling into place. For those who are single, it could be that, the energy is there for you to meet the right person. You just have to make yourself available, with the Three of Pentacles being here from 2 different decks. You have to make yourself available. Remember, it's here and it's here. For those who are already coupled, like I said, the waiting could be that everybody has to work together. It can't just be one person doing all the work. But I feel this is very encouraging. This is very positive for those who are going through something difficult, which means that you can have that ideal marriage that you've always wanted. But I definitely feel like this card really stands out to me. Like it's finally time to move on from something that is really kind of negative and oppressive. Something that has been making you unhappy and kind of making you feel incomplete. Again, that marriage and that sense of stability is there. Okay, Gemini, this has been your love reading for the month of March 2017. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will speak to you again next month.